No deals that could happen in Russia because we've stayed away.
I have nothing to do with Russia. To the best of my knowledge, no person that I deal with.
You know, we knew those were all lies because of the testimony of Michael Cohen and a letter of intent to develop a tower in Moscow that Trump signed in October 2015. Remember? He told us throughout the 2016 campaign he had nothing to do with Russia. It was a lie, and I'm just wondering at this point, should we have started following, like, Seth Rich stories? Should we have been doing investigations on something else? No, because actually, when everybody around the president was lying about contacts with one of our foreign adversaries...
That's a news story.
That's a New York Times job, David. That's Rolling Stone's job. Matt and Sean, I know it's not your job.
Definitely not his.
Definitely not your job.
We'll just
your job is to make up stories about Seth Rich.
Skip over that one.
Anyway, Jared Kushner had hundreds of errors, omissions of his security clearance form, leaving off contacts with who? The French? No, the Russians, including a campaign meeting with Donald Trump Jr., which President Trump later worked to cover up. Do you remember that? Do you remember Donald Trump on Air Force One calling everybody together and concocting a lie to send to the New York Times? What was he lying about? Contact with Russians in Trump Tower because they believed, and Don Jr. said, I love it, that they were going to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. I'm not even bringing up all the criminal indictments of the campaign chairman, Paul Manafort. I'm not even bringing up the indictments of longtime deputy Rick Gates or the indictments of foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos. I forget how to say his name. It's been so long. Who lied to investigators seeking information about what? The French? No, the Russians. Russian interference time and time again. So I'm just curious. What was the media supposed to do when Donald Trump lied about meetings with Russians? The vice president lied about campaign meetings with Russia. The attorney general lied about meetings with Russians. Jared Kushner lied about meeting with Russians. George Papadopoulos lied about meeting with Russians. I could go on. But I won't. I'll just say the media did a pretty damn good job.
The media did its job.
And I know, I understand.
And will continue
I understand,
to do
Donald.
So.
You're writing your little enemies list right now. You're telling people who they can have on the show and who they can't have on the show. And now you're tweeting again. Enemies of the people. Oh, is that anything like the witch hunt that you talked about? How many times did you bring up the witch hunt? And now suddenly Robert Mueller, he's a good and honorable man.
Until you see his report,
yeah,
maybe.
Then you'll see his report, and then all of a sudden...
Listen, we haven't seen the report.
He'll be a witch again. But let's
not exonerate
let's
him.
just remind everybody, there were 27 indictments in this witch hunt, almost 200 charges in this witch hunt. We had the president's own director of Homeland Security say Vladimir Putin was trying to influence our election and undermine our democracy in 2016. We had the CIA director saying the same thing. We had the director of national intelligence saying the same thing. We had everyone saying the same thing. So you all can, do whatever you do. But I can tell you the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, newspapers also, yes, David Brooks, even people on TV are going to keep doing their job, and they're going to keep following the story. And now to defend the media for the next hour, let's bring in Elizabeth Friedman. I'm kidding! You know what? Mistakes are sometimes made by the New York Times, by the Washington Post, by this show. I make mistakes every 5 or 10 minutes. It's much easier that way. But again, I don't